Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman with hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use. This is the broadcast for February the 3rd in the year of our Lord, 2026. Promoting God, family, and country, and protecting life, liberty, and property. That's who we are and what we do. I guess the House is going to hold a vote on the opening up the government again and funding and everything else. To me, it's a clown show. Why is the House of Representatives going to meet on Tuesday to vote on funding measures to end the partial government shutdown? They say they're only going to open up the Homeland Security thing for 2 weeks or something like that. I mean, it's just a clown show. Every bit of it, ladies and gentlemen. Why they even shut down the government? If Congress would have stayed over the weekend and they would have done their job, we would have, not even shut down the government, hopefully. But then they basically went on vacation or recess or whatever they do. They're always gone. And then we're paying for incredible travel. I mean, it just frustrates me to no end, ladies and gentlemen. They are absolutely clowns. When are they going to work for the American people and get something done? The only reason the government shut down right now is because they didn't work on it timely like they should have. They had months to work on it. Remember, they passed that other thing in November, December, whatever it was. And then they said, we're going to have it. They had a whole month plus to get it done. And they just failed again and failed again and failed again. Oh, we need more time. We need more time. You don't need more time, you clowns. Cut spending and get it done. Oh, we can't, Sam. It's too partisan. You know what? Then go to the American people. Take the 218 Republicans and go to the American people and say, we are shut down. We're trying to fund the government. We need to decrease expenditures or we're going to melt down. And, you could bring the public and the president and everybody into this discussion. But no, they want to have it all behind closed doors. Twist arms. It's got to be the Republican way. No, it's got to be the Democrat way. No, it's got to be. And it's nothing but a clown show. And every day they just simply go home and don't do their jobs. And I think they all ought to be docked, pay, and fired personally. It's out of control. Absolutely out of control, folks. All right, they say that TikTok's coming back now after the ownership change or whatever else. I don't even know what happened with that, right? They say TikTok usage dropped following ownership change, benefiting rival apps. But don't worry, now its numbers are climbing again. So there you have it. I thought they were going to get rid of TikTok. TikTok makes me mad because they've basically banned me on TikTok and shut down all my stuff. So TikTok wants to not be shut down, but yet they want to shut me down. Think of the irony of that, ladies and gentlemen. And then Congress sits there and does nothing. Donald decides whatever happens with business, privately, locally, internationally, everywhere. It shouldn't be done like that, folks. It shouldn't work that way. All right, the Jeffrey Epstein files. They release millions and millions of pages, they claim, but nothing's going to change, right? What Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said about Jeffrey Epstein will surely trigger the liberals, they say. Well, it's starting to trigger me is the problem, folks. Because I look at this thing and I go, Matt Vesta wrote the story. It's over at townhall.com if you want to check it out, okay? But the bottom line is, I'm mad about this because we're not getting the truth. Okay, they say the abundance of files and unfounded tips related to the Jeffrey Epstein disclosures, it renders them difficult to take seriously. Several of the most sensational allegations they say have been thoroughly refuted for years. That's according to FBI records. Nevertheless, the media continues to disseminate falsehoods and engage in smear campaigns. The pattern is consistent with the fake news media, and it's not unexpected given the long-standing lies about the Russia hoax. We know Epstein, a very wealthy individual, socialized with others in similar financial circles. It's common for the rich to mingle, which isn't surprising, but this is a guilt by association witch hunt, Blanche says. This is partly why the Justice Department delayed releasing the files, as it was becoming too troublesome for the Trump administration. Yeah, if you want to see creepy people that have hung out with Epstein, look no further than Bill Gates and company. Yeah. But you know what? Blanche says the avalanche of people seen with Epstein will likely trigger liberals who are just desiring to weaponize this story to damage Trump. It's not a crime to party with Epstein, Blanche said on Monday to the Hill newspaper. He said there's a chance of parties being prosecuted related to the Jeffrey Epstein saga, but it's not a crime to party with Epstein. Well, look, I'll never say no, and we'll always investigate any evidence of misconduct, but it's not a crime to party with Epstein. It might be a bad look, might be horrible, but it's not a crime. Some of these men may have done horrible things, and if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will, he continued. But it's also the kind of thing that the American people need to understand, that it's not a crime to party with Epstein. But here's the problem. Here's the problem, folks. We're being lied to. We're being punked by Blanche, punked by Kash Patel, punked by Pam Bondi, punked by Donald Trump on this thing. This thing is bad. Why? Because, look, Hillary and Bill wouldn't even go to court when subpoenaed to. Why they're not prosecuted, I don't know. They're dealing with kid gloves with Bill and Hillary. Now they're going to say, well, you can come testify. Fine. You'll find out later they restricted what they could ask them. They did this, they did that, and it'll be a clown show. Okay? The problem is the victims are making claims and they're not getting their day in court. Where do we go from there? And the answer is we're not going anywhere. Nothing really is going to happen. You're not going to get to the bottom of the Epstein files. The Republicans are just as bad as the Democrats. The Republicans are literally trying to make you believe in a gaslighting exercise. Listen carefully. They're trying to make you believe in a gaslighting exercise that somehow it's the Democrats. The Democrats are going crazy on the Epstein files. No, Donald Trump is the one that said this stuff should be released. I've said it should be released. Conservative people all over have said, hey, the deal back in the day that Jeffrey Epstein got and the protection that, well, now Ghislaine Maxwell claims 25 plus people got special privilege deals, and she's mad because she doesn't get the special privilege deal they cut back in the day with Jeff and 25 other high-profile people. Who are those high-profile people? What deal did they get? How is that a Democrat hoax or a Democrat, attack on Donald? If Donald's innocent, he doesn't have anything to worry about. Okay? But why can't we get to the bottom of who got these deals? Which 25 people that Ghislaine Maxwell points to got a deal? I want to know, because that's critical to me in terms of getting answers here. This is not a hoax by Democrats or government at all. And to suggest so is a lie, in my opinion, folks. It's disaster. And why we're allowing the Republicans to get away with this lie, I don't know. But they continue to say it. Oh, it's just a Democrat hoax. It's like Russiagate. No, it's not. This is a nonpartisan question. You had a pedophile, sex-convicted offender, and you had a ton of people hang out with this guy, and we don't know who was just partying versus who committed real crimes. And we don't know, most importantly, is this sex cartel? Is this child molestation ring? This child trafficking ring? Is it continuing? Even though, hey, Ghislaine's off the tick. She's in jail, supposedly, having a great time with a very peaceful minimum security jail. Why, I don't know, but there you go. And then Jeffrey's dead, so... hey, is this thing still going on? Whenever you have a drug cartel and the leader gets taken out, there's a vacuum, and somebody, and many times it's somebody's. Many people are vying, competing to take the driver's seat, right? So is this sex abuse train continuing under another engineer, and we're told to leave it alone because it's just a Democrat hoax? That's the problem, is you can't trust your government. And the problem is you can't know the truth. Are the Democrats telling the truth and the Republicans are lying? Or are the Republicans telling the truth and the Democrats lying? Are they both lying? And in my opinion, they're both lying, because both of them aren't really for the American people getting answers. Otherwise, hey, What deals were cut between Jeffrey Epstein and these 25 people that Ghislaine Maxwell single-handedly gave us more information about the concerns than all 3 million pages or whatever it is has done? And Ghislaine Maxwell, what is she, a Democrat or a Republican? Is she our friend? Who is she? Okay, she's not my friend. The wrong that she's done is just incalculable of the abuse that she heaped on these people. I think they need to make her sing like a bird. And I think we need to get real answers. And the Republicans now are the gatekeepers preventing the truth from coming out. Oh, they released millions of pages, much of it redacted and everything else. Now they're complaining they released a few people's names that shouldn't be released, that should be redacted, so they're begging to take the Jeffrey Epstein website down. It's nothing but a distraction, folks.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at cspoa.org. That's cspoa.org.
Get ready to be part of something incredible. We're breaking barriers and delivering the powerful stories that mainstream media won't touch. Your support is what fuels our mission to revolutionize journalism and bring you the truth. Join our passionate community of changemakers by donating at libertynewsradio.com today. Together, we're creating the future of news.
As the United States boldly stepped forward in the glorious light provided by its new Constitution in 1787, the nations of the earth were in awe of the newfound strength and hope of this free land. Today, the nation stands at a crossroads. A divergence from the original intent put forth in the United States Constitution has brought grave threats to our beloved nation. A miracle is needed if the United States is to survive. That miracle is again the pure application of the United States Constitution. I'm Scott Bradley. In my To Preserve the Nation book and lecture series, I bring forth truths that will help raise up a new generation of statesmen like those noble Americans who founded this land. Vigorous application of these principles will invigorate and restore the nation, and we may become again the freest, most prosperous, most respected, and happiest nation on earth. Visit topreservethenation.com to begin that restoration.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Tulsi Gabbard in the news. Tulsi Gabbard vows to protect election integrity in scathing letter to Congress. I appreciate Tulsi. I think that's good that she wants to do that, but I have a problem with a lot of this. Number one, Congress has been derelict in their duty on so many fronts. It's amazing. I've mentioned over and over and over how President Trump has really done a lot of great things, but unless he's backed by Congress, it'll just be an executive fiat. It'll just be overturned by the next executive fiat in line. And, that's all. Unless Congress codifies a lot of this by law, right? And I mentioned this, for example, a federal judge blocked the deportation of Haitian nationals under, quote, temporary protected status. That's a program created by Congress. And the judge is saying, hey, President, you can't do that. You got to have Congress take action first. Well, they're not going to. Congress is on recess. They're working on getting elected again. They've done nothing. Well, the same thing's true with this election integrity issue. Let me explain what I mean. Congress, back in January 6th, 2021, is that when it was? Yeah. Then, they were supposed to look into election integrity and election fraud. But then, of course, the J6 scandal happened. The Democrats had a heyday with it and pretended the Republicans were all evil and it was Republicans and conservatives and Donald and just a bunch of bad insurrectionist actors, and they lied and got away with it. The Republicans were supposed to come back, tell the other side of the story, lay out the truth, get to the bottom of it, but nothing's happened, as you can see. The Republicans don't take action like they should. Well, anyway, now Tulsi Gabbard wants to go ahead and make sure that there's election integrity, and I support that effort. But I don't support the way they're going about it, ladies and gentlemen. They want to do a couple of things that concern me greatly. One of them is they want to make elections national or nationalize elections. I think it's a bad idea. I don't support that at all. We don't need to nationalize elections. We nationalize everything, and then everything goes south. Okay? The government that governs best is the government closest to the people, which is local government every time. Okay? We think the top is Washington, D.C. and Donald, and the bottom is like your local dog catcher. That's a lie. The top is your local county. That's right. In a constitutional republic, which is a state, we have 50 of them. And down the top is the sheriff. He's the chief law enforcement officer, Cleo, in his county. The buck stops with that executive that we elect if it's done right. That's at the top. All the way down to the bottom is the president of the United States that has some limited scope of authority compared to the general government's broad authority in 3 branches, but narrow authority when compared to the states. As government gets further from the people, it gets narrower in scope and narrower in delegated authority. That's why we listed at the federal level what they can do. And then we said, by the way, just so you don't misinterpret this, if it's not on the list, you can't do it. But furthermore, we're going to have the 9th and 10th Amendments, which really says you can't do it. But yet they still do it anyway. So the last thing we need to do is take elections and move them to the national scale. The problem with elections is we moved them to the state scale, or the state level, and we had mail-in voting and all this ballot fraud. And we need to go back to precincts, ladies and gentlemen. And a precinct, has generally approximately about 1,000 voters in it. And each precinct needs to clean their own voter roll. Each precinct needs to take absolute, complete command of their voting and make sure that it's honorable, that it's transparent, that it's, okay, this is what we need to do. Well, anyway, so Tulsi Gabbard vowing to protect election integrity, I appreciate that, but I want you to know that the mainstream press is manipulating this. The truth is it needs to be local. We need to go the opposite direction of what we've been told. So here's some more fuel to the fire. Republican Senator John Kennedy, he's of Louisiana, and he expressed confidence on the Will Cain show. He says that the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or SAVE Act, he says it could pass Congress, highlighting the need for Republican alignment and potential Democratic support. Well, Republican alignment's not going to happen. That's why the Republicans always fail, because they're not aligned. The Democrats are absolutely aligned, and that's why even when they're not in power, they have power. They say the bill, spearheaded by Florida Rep. Anna Paulina Luna and endorsed by many other GOP lawmakers, mandates that states verify citizenship before voter registration for federal elections. Passed by the House in April 2025. I guess it had a 220 to 208 vote, including 4 Democratic supporters. They say that, but the legislation faces challenges in the Senate, notably due to a 60-vote filibuster hurdle. They say Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has labeled the bill a poison pill, threatening a filibuster. Despite obstacles, Senate Majority Leader John Thune anticipates a floor presentation following their committee discussions. Meanwhile, President Trump has called for the passage of a clean government funding bill, opposing amendments like the SAVE Act. Now, here's the problem. I don't really believe we should be forcing the states to do anything at the national level regarding elections. You say, well, Sam, it's a national election. I know. I understand. But we've had the states in charge of elections and local precincts in charge of elections for centuries, folks, for a couple of 100 years. Why do we need to change it now? We don't. This is a federal grab that needs to be stopped. Now, do I support the SAVE Act? Mike Lee is the one that I think sponsored that bill or set up that bill in the first place. I understand the need to say everybody needs to verify that they're, a citizen. the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. Okay, I understand that you want to make sure people are eligible. But when do we decide it's a federal government mandate? You say, well, Sam, Congress has responsibility here. No. Congress had the chance back in January the 6th, 2021 to dig into this, and they rejected it. They failed. They let a clown show happen. They let innocent people die. They blamed it all on the Republicans, and it's been nothing but a clown show, a crock of crap forever. Okay? So I don't know that I want this to pass Congress. What I really want is local municipalities to get involved and the states to take appropriate action. Oh, Sam, you've got wishful thinking. Well, Donald's for the SAVE Act, but he's kind of against it because he wants a clean bill. What the heck is a clean bill? What is a clean bill? I don't even know what that means. Well, Donald would say, look, we're not going to add to it. We're not going to change it. We're just going to. If you pass a clean bill like that, you're just simply backing the Joe Biden bills, the Joe Biden era of funding and budgeting and et cetera. When are these guys going to come to the table and insist on decreasing government? You say, Sam, the Democrats won't go along. The Republicans can't do it. That's why we got to get rid of the filibuster. No, you don't need to get rid of the filibuster. It sounds good when you're in charge, but when the other guys are in charge, you will lose all your ability to stop things. So that's not a great answer either. Congress moving slow is a good answer. Congress not being able to decide is a great answer. Let them shut down most of government. Learn to piecemeal single line items that make sense. We're going to fund, for example, this or that or whatever the case, because it's constitutional. Here's the constitutional case for funding it, and we're going to fund it and let government open a teeny bit at a time. But what they always do is just kick the can down the road, and that's what they're about to do right now. They're going to kick most of it to September. Yeah, so they're going to really, what are they going to do right before the elections? That's a great plan. It's a disaster plan. And then, it's always right before Christmas. Again, a disaster plan. Okay? They need to really seriously take action in a productive way and say, look, we're going to take action. We're going to cut spending. And if the government has to stay closed for a long time, so be it. At least it'll decrease spending. Oh, no, Sam, it costs more money for the government to stay open than it does, or for the government to be closed than it does to keep the government open. It's more expensive. And my response is why? Because you're paying 535 people to not do their job. Is that why? 435 in the House, 100 in the Senate, 535 people. You're paying them what? Couple $100,000 a year with all in benefits. It might be even north of that. Couple $100,000 times 535 plus all their staffs. Hey, if government is shut down, don't pay any of these people and have them go back to their constituents and explain to you why government's shut down. See, we've lacked the safety valve that being responsible to the American people could provide. But they're not responsible to the American people because they just pay for their big donors and their big compromise things, and right? So I can only donate a certain amount to some of these elections. But say Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or some of these clowns, they can create these super secret PACs or whatever, and they can fund as much as they want. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg put, $420 million into elections? Elon Musk did a similar thing on the Republican side. See, they're just the same. So I'm not really for the SAFE Act, and I'm certainly against removing the 60 vote requirement. Deal with local elections, people. The more local, the closer the government is to the people, the more honorable it will be, and the more honorable it will perform. But it's going to take we the people to get involved. Remember, the founders said you have a republic, not a democracy. You have a republic if you can keep it. More in seconds. I'm Sam Bushman. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
Exposing corruption, informing citizens, pursuing liberty. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Once again, a judge is stepping in to block an action by the Trump administration, and the White House vows an appeal. This time it has to do with hundreds of thousands of Haitians facing the prospect of being sent back to their homeland.
Temporary protected status has allowed roughly 350,000 Haitians to live and work in the U.S. It's a designation that can be granted by the Secretary of Homeland Security if conditions in a country are deemed unsafe for return due to natural disaster, political instability, or other dangers. Homeland Security says Haiti's TPS was granted following an earthquake that took place over 15 years ago. It was set to end Tuesday after Secretary Kristi Noem determined conditions had improved and Haiti was now safe.
Correspondent Ben Thomas. Apparently, the Clintons have had a change of heart. Bill and Hillary Clinton now say they will testify in a House investigation focusing on the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The Iranian president directing his foreign minister to seek out talks with the U.S.
This move by Masoud Pezeshkian comes as tensions are very high between Washington and Tehran. That's because of Iran's bloody crackdown on nationwide protests last month that are believed to have killed thousands of people. Now, Pezeshkian said he had ordered Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi to have these talks. He said that they would be conducted if they could be in a fair manner and in a site that would be also fair to the Iranians.
Correspondent John Gambrell. President Trump has announced a big new trade and tariffs deal with India. As part of the deal, the president says India has agreed to stop buying oil from Russia. Stocks are mixed on Wall Street, with the Dow up 44 points, while the Nasdaq is down 227 points, and the S&P 29 points lower. More on these stories, townhall.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
The stock market is at an all-time high. The dollar is under pressure, and leading economists are warning that the global financial system is changing. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 right now to get your free gold investment guide, plus your free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Find out about a tax and penalty-free rollover in 2026. Gold and silver can surge when the economy shifts, and they don't wait for permission. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000.
Why don't we say to the government writ large that they have to spend a little bit less? Anybody ever had less money this year than you had last? Anybody ever having a 1% pay cut? You deal with it. That's what government needs, a 1% pay cut. If you take a 1% pay cut across the board, you have more than enough money to actually pay for the disaster relief. But nobody's going to do that because they're fiscally irresponsible. Who are they? Republicans. Who are they? Democrats. Who are they? Virtually the whole body is careless and reckless with your money. So the money will not be offset by cuts anywhere. The money will be added to the debt, and there will be a day of reckoning. What's the day of reckoning? The day of reckoning may well be the collapse of the stock market. The day of reckoning may be the collapse of the dollar. When it comes, I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you it has happened repeatedly in history when countries ruin their currency.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
The more the elections get away from the American people, the worse it's going to get. So federalizing them, not a good idea. Messing with the filibuster or the 60 vote requirement, whatever you want to call it, not a good idea. It sounds great when you're in charge, but when you're not in charge, it'll backfire spectacularly. Be very careful indeed. I understand that we want to protect the federal elections, but you know what? We need to be very careful with this, folks. Very careful. All right. They want you to believe that the no jobs report is a meltdown. It's because government's been shut down, and they simply can't get the numbers, and therefore you can't know the jobs report. They say they're running around blind. They just don't know what to do. It's horrible. And they want you to believe that the sky is falling. It's Chicken Little. The end of the world's happening. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. So I wrote a headline about this. Headline says, no jobs report, no crisis. It's just not a crisis, folks. You say, well, Sam, what do you mean? We got to have that. No, you don't. Let me explain why. The absence of a government or a federal jobs report does not cripple economic understanding. Private payroll companies already track employment, wages, hirings in real time, folks. So we already have it in the private sector. What is it? Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, those guys. The big, huge payroll companies can tell you. And so it does not cripple economic understanding. The fact is, the job market's slowing down. Why is it slowing down? Because they're laying off everybody because of AI. Okay? You don't need government numbers to tell you that. And here's the other problem. Not only do we have private payroll companies and everybody else tracking a lot of this stuff, but the American economy has been thriving way before these reports ever even got introduced. So they say these reports got introduced about 77 years ago. Got it. Fine. So what, 1950 kind of thing? Well, what did we do before 1950? Well, we didn't have that information, and it was okay. And not only that, we were prospering then. Now we're not prospering, and we have the report, and we act like we can't do without the report. But never mind that this data is tracked in the private sector. Never mind that if the government doesn't provide that, you could do polls across America like all these other companies do, Rasmussen and everybody else doing their polls, and you could get a great handle on things. You look at companies like salary.com and many of these other companies, I mean, they have down to a T what people should be paid for certain jobs and everything else. You can say, oh, Sam, that's because of the government. No, it's not. It's because this private payroll data can tell you almost everything you need to know. And sound economic principles does not rely on a government report. Okay? Not only do we not have this for hundreds of years before it got put in place, not only do we have this information in the private sector, but it gets even more poignant when you think about this. What is a job report anyway? Okay? It takes out farm payroll. It takes out this. It takes out that. All I want to know is this. How many government workers has Donald laid off? What's the total government worker count now versus when Donald took office, right? What is the federal employment count or employee count when Trump took office and now? Let's see what ChatGPT tells me about that. While I'm waiting for that answer, the absence of a job report does not cripple economic understanding. We understand economics, folks. Let me explain it very simple to these people, just so they can understand. If you spend more than you make, bad. Got it? If you spend more than you make, it's bad. And I don't care what report you're going to give me, because here's the problem with the report. The government always releases a report, and then 6 months later or something, they're like, okay, we got updated numbers. And you find that whatever administration was in power manipulated the numbers to their benefit. And so you don't even get real numbers. They're revised numbers is what they always come up with. Well, what if I just didn't have the first numbers at all? Then I wouldn't need to revise them. Now would I? But if we have numbers that are wrong, intentionally wrong or not, who knows? But if we have to revise them, then what does that do to the market when you mislead with invalid numbers that need revising? So that creates a moral hazard in the marketplace when you add that to the mix, right? So what do? You got a situation where the numbers just change. Oh, sorry, we thought the jobs report was this. It turns out that it was that. How do you know that's not manipulated by a president or by a friendly, government organization that wants to manipulate the numbers before the elections? So before the midterms, we're going to hear, oh, this and that and the other. And then after the election, they're going to be like, oh, we got to revise the numbers. Does that impress you? All right. When Trump first took office in 2017, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, they call it the establishment payroll data, don't you know? Non-postal federal employment was about 2.19 million in January 2017, with roughly 10,700 workers less compared with later months. All right, so 2.19 million. Wow. Now, here's the deal. Why do we need that many employees at all? Now, the current federal workforce, early 2026. Ready? Recent figures from the Office of Personnel Management. They say, as of the latest available reporting, in early 2026, there are approximately 2,084,600 and something federal civilian employees. So they take out the military, they take out the post office. Wow. So the bottom line, not much has changed. 2.19 million, 2.08 million. So it's down, 100,000 people or so? That's not significant. They say these counts generally refer to the civilian federal workforce, which excludes military personnel. Sometimes it excludes the Postal Service. Wow. So there's been a little bit of a decline, but not a substantial one. They wanted you to believe that somehow it was going to melt down. Donald was going to just lay off everybody. Nothing like that, even close, has happened. Now you say, Sam, what are you doing? You just downed government data, said we didn't need it, said this information was in the private sector. I'm talking about private sector jobs. It's fine for the government to keep statistics on their own jobs, but they don't need to provide statistics on the private sector job. Let the private sector take care of the private sector. So no jobs report, no crisis, I say. And to tell you any different, in my humble, is a big lie. However, let's do a poll then, shall we? Because I told you that polls could give us more data than the government could. I'm going to prove it. Here it is. A New York Times poll. And you can debate if you like the New York Times or not. I don't like them very much, but they are a very well-known newspaper in the United States. NYT poll reveals that 77% of respondents feel that a middle-class lifestyle is harder to achieve now than it was for the previous generation. So you know the economy's in the toilet when they say that. Everyone feels like generation by generation by generation, it's getting harder to make a living. The economy's not good. Can't do as well as my parents did. The survey of over 1,600 people said that 29% worry about affording basic expenses, 11% flat out unable to even afford them. Only 14% believe that they're financially advancing. Younger voters under 45 years old feel like they're doing worse financially compared to their parents. Among voters under 30, 75% feel that they can't afford the lifestyle they deserve. And 54% say desiring a home is out of reach. Concerning retirement, ladies and gentlemen, 75% of voters under 65 feel they can't afford it or they're insecure about their retirement. regarding the economy, 70% rate it as fair or poor. 31% think it's improved over the last year. Blame for cost of living issues is divided among Donald Trump, 31%, and Joe Biden, 35%. And neither say 33% are responsible for it, with 51% saying that Trump's policies have made life less affordable. Yeah, a Neapolitan news poll indicates that 49% of voters can save, while 45% are forced to use all income just to survive. We'll talk about it more in seconds. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began, Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Step into the boots of the American West with Range Magazine, where grit meets grace. This is a front row seat to the stories, struggles, and triumphs of ranchers, farmers, and stewards of the land. From jaw-dropping photography to no-nonsense reporting, Range brings you the untold tales of life on the range. Whether you're a city dweller with a cowboy's heart or living life where the pavement ends, Range speaks to the soul of the West. Subscribe today at rangemagazine.com.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At cspoa.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen, talking about the economy. I contend that the absence of a job report does not cripple economic understanding. No jobs report, no crisis at all. You can look at the private sector. And I'm just telling you, you got all kinds of companies that are payroll companies, all kinds of companies that provide insurance in the private sector for employers and everything else. They can tell you what the economy is doing. You can look at salary.com and get price, what companies pay for employees for certain positions and everything else. They've got it down to a science. And we don't need government really at all for this, folks. We really don't. But this New York Times poll that I mentioned, 77% of respondents feel that a middle-class lifestyle is harder to achieve now than it was for the previous generation. And generations have been saying that time and time again for the last several generations. It's harder for me than it was for my parents. It's harder for my children than it is for me. Okay? You can see that slide. And so when Donald tells you the economy is incredible, I don't know what he's smoking, but it ain't true. It's just not true. Now, is the economy a little bit better under, Donald Trump than it was under Biden? In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. For the spending of the government, we're still applying Donald Trump / Joe Biden's blueprint, right? Remember the clean bills? That means we're not going to change stuff. We're going to leave it Joe Biden-esque. I thought we were going to cut expenditures. I thought we were going to get rid of a bunch of government employees. We're still right around the 2 million mark of government employees. It's slightly down, but not enough to really matter much. Government shut down half the time. Why do you say that, Sam? Well, they're shut down a lot, only for blips, but they're also shut down because Congress is on recess all the time. You've had almost as many executive orders as you have had votes in the last year. If that doesn't tell you that we got a hyperactive, out of control executive branch and a do-nothing Congress violating the checks and balances, refusing to carry out the proper role of government based on the delegated responsibilities that we gave each branch of government, it's a problem. Anyway, they say that Trump is trying to do stuff to help the economy. He's trying to cap credit cards, interest rates. He's trying to push the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. He's trying to create a housing package that got kicked out of the latest defense authorization bill and everything else. Is that the responsibility of the president to play games with housing? Is that the responsibility of the federal government to cap credit card interest rates? See, I don't think President Trump's even doing the things that he ought to be doing. The best thing the president could do is start to move us back to constitutional currency, honest money. Start to abolish the Federal Reserve entirely. All right, enough of that. I'm on a frustrated bender about this because I believe we're being dishonestly dealt with by all kinds of people. There's a lot of things Trump is doing that are good, but Congress hasn't done anything. They haven't backed him in anything, and therefore 90% of what Trump has done is temporary at best. It'll just be reversed by the next guy in office because Congress hasn't codified. Congress has a responsibility, for example, to support Donald Trump in removing these Haitians that are criminals that should have never been here in the first place. But, of course, a single judge just stopped the president, and Congress, they're on vacation. When they come back, they'll try to open up the government for you. Because, golly, you don't have your jobs report. That's so horrible. What are we going to do? We won't even know if we have a job or not, will we? Well, you know if you have a job when you're getting a paycheck, right? What's the difference between a recession and a depression? A recession is when my buddy's out of work. A depression is when I'm out of work, right? These economic principles are very easy to see. What's the national debt? It's ballooning. It's out of control. It's not getting better. You got to decrease spending. And the way you decrease spending, if you look at any business, one of the biggest expenses of any business is payroll. So what's the payroll of the United States? How much is the payroll for all government employees at the United States? I don't know that I can even know that, right? What is the payroll of the United States annually for all employees? How much money is it, folks? Do we even know? Does the American people even know that kind of stuff? So the jobs report just comes back and says, oh, yeah, jobs are down, but unemployment hasn't changed. Oh, sorry, we got to revise those numbers. They weren't accurate. Sorry. Hey, did the president do that on purpose? What's going on? You know, that's all. The annual payroll for all employees in the United States, meaning the total wages and salaries paid to workers in a year, is tracked by government economic statistics rather than by a single payroll report that businesses report. So they've made it all convoluted in government. They can't give you the same number that business has. They say a key measure of this is total wages and salaries paid to employees across the U.S. economy. For 2024, the total wages paid to employees, $11.7 trillion. But see, that's the gross amount paid to workers before taxes. That's across all sectors, private, government, full-time, part-time, etc. It does not include government transfer payments, non-wage income investments, etc. But how do I know what the government cost is? The answer is there's not an easy way to know. And I submit to you it's because they don't want you to know. Anyway, good news, folks. They say walking emerges as the best overall exercise, researchers now say. Yeah, new findings show that simple walking, regular walking, so I guess simple just walking and consistent, provides wide-ranging health benefits and remains the easiest activity for most people to maintain. In other words, consistency is key to what they're saying. You can do other things, but walking is the one that's easiest to continue doing. So if you want a New Year's resolution, don't say I'm going to, do this and that, whatever exercise. The best thing you can do is walk. It's the easiest to maintain, and it's one of the best for you. Think about that. That's pretty cool news in my opinion. New findings show that simple, regular walking is the easiest activity for people to maintain and do, and it's one of the best things for your health. And does it surprise you? The human body's made to walk. I mean, when we move out and about, walking is the primary movement that we do, right? It triggers the right and left sides of the brain as you walk and move both arms. By the way, there's a new study out showing handwriting truly rewires your brain in a good way. And now we're starting to, people can't read cursive. People can't read handwriting. That's a problem in and of itself as well. And I bring that up just because, hey, there's a lot of good things happening. All right, Mr. David Lowry Jr., he's a pastor at this, what's it called? I guess he's a co-pastor at Fernwood Community Outreach Church in Chicago. And he's calling for a national boycott of the Super Bowl. He says if they allow Bad Bunny to perform at the Super Bowl, we should boycott the whole thing. He said America will be 250 years old this year, and we would think that would be using America's talent to promote this country and to promote this 250th year celebration of America. And so he's calling to boycott the halftime show. You got to boycott the whole Super Bowl, people. I would just avoid the whole Super Bowl, and I would actually go watch the Turning Point USA halftime show. It's going to be great. It's going to be all American. That's what we ought to be celebrating, ladies and gentlemen. But the sad part is this just shows the divide in America. You've got the corporate world and the celebrity world and the sports world all backing Bad Bunny. You've got conservatives saying, we don't want to play that game anymore. Now you're seeing multiple halftime shows, which just is a reflection of the fractured societal reality we're experiencing. That's why I'm writing a book about it, to say we've got to stop the fracture. We've got to call a halt to the con game. Check out my callforcivility.com website. There's a pledge there. There's the original article I wrote back in 2016, and there's the case made to change a clarion call for civility to campaign for civility, which I'll be working on, a speaking tour and everything else related to this. There's a lot going on, people. And I think David Lowry Jr., my brother in Christ and in liberty, is pointing out a real truth. Vote with your dollars. You don't have to hate on anybody. You don't have to attack anybody. You don't have to be, all you do is just say, I have a sacred funds that God's given me, and I'm going to use it in sacred ways. So boycott the Super Bowl, people. Turn it off. Not only is it the Sabbath, a day of rest, a day of delight, a day that's an outward sign of your inward commitment to be a disciple of the Lord Jesus Christ, okay? A sacred day, look at your 10 commandments. The Sabbath day, keep it holy. So, on that alone, boycott the Super Bowl. But with the Bad Bunny thing in the mix, who wants a perverted in Spanish halftime show? Most of the American people don't want that. But we're getting it anyway because the corporate world's shoving it down our throats. We need to push back politely, peacefully, and just simply say, hey, it's my sacred funds, and I'm going to use it as I think best. I'm going to advance the causes that are good. I'm going to make popular that which is good and make unpopular that which is bad, evil, wrong. I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with those who believe America is the greatest country on the face of the earth, because it is. Have we fallen quite far? Yes. But we can recover. We're the American people. The free markets are the key. That's why we need Donald and company to really focus on the free markets. Shut down the IRS. Shut down the Federal Reserve. Let's get to honest money again. And then you'll see an economic engine, the likes of which Donald only talks about. It'll be in action, real time. And you'll see it everywhere around you. And then you won't have to believe your lying eyes. You'll know the truth, because the truth shall set you free. LovingLiberty.net. God save the Republic of the United States of America.